Seminar Forum in academic year 2020 and 2021. The Honorable our lecturer, Mr. Elwin Piarawan Zebua, and all of our beloved friends. First of all, the first presenter is Yeni Masai. By the title, The Effectiveness of Small Group Discussions Method in the Teaching of Reading Comprehensions to the second grade students of SMA Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli in academic year 2020 and 2021. The next presenter is Christina Laia. By the title, An Error Analysis on Students' Writing of Simple Present Tense in Descriptive Text at 8th grade of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli in academic year 2020 and 2021. Next, for the first presenter, time is yours.
Thank you for the time that given to me to explain my research. But the title is The Effectiveness of Small Group Discussion Method in the Teaching of Reading Comprehension to the second grade students of SMA Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli in academic year 2020 and 2021. The background of the problem. English as an international language is used in most international events and also used as a medium for the flow of information science, technology, and culture. As we understand that learning a foreign language is more difficult than learning the national language or mother tongue. This is because the foreign language has a completely different aspect and the system that must be understood by the students of learners, such as pronunciation, spelling, and cultural background of the language. According to Harrington 2000, in addition, we also remember that there are some important factors in learning a foreign language, which will mostly affect students, learners in mastering the language. There are 4 skills in English language: speaking skill, listening skill, and reading skill and writing skill. Especially for reading skill, it is so important in English learning because it develops the mind. The mind is a muscle, it needs exercise. Understanding the written word is one way the mind grows in its ability. According to Hart Brewer, regarding is necessary skill that any learner needs. Unfortunately, how to teach reading has not been given due care in some schools. In the past, according to the traditional view, reading begins with the child mastering the names of the letter, mastering the listen sound, relationship, then learning some easy words in isolation, and finally, reading simple stories with highly controlled vocabularies. There are some problems of the students in reading. The first is the students do not understand which one the main idea of the text. It seems that while the teacher asks the students to determine the main idea, they assume that the title of the text is the main idea. The second one is the students difficult to get the information with the title of the text. While the teacher asks the students to comprehend what is the content of the text with general, they just read the first sentence in every paragraph of the text. The third one is the students lack vocabulary. Based on the problem found above, the teacher should help the students to facilitate and find the effective method to develop students' reading comprehension. It is important for the teacher to find the method that it is easy and can be applied for the students in learning reading. By using the effective method, the students can follow the lesson well and they can increase their reading comprehension because the method of teaching influences the students' success. The research it was solved this problem by small group discussion method to teach reading according to Brown. According to Brown, small group discussion method is a group which consisting of 6 or fewer students who are assigned to tasks that involves collaborations. According Manuel, the small group discussion method is a group consists of 3 to 6 learners facilitated by a teacher. And then, research problems. Based on the background of the problem that have been described, research focus on research problem as follows. The first one is the use of small group discussion method effective in teaching reading to the students of SMA Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli. The second one is, can the use of small group discussion method improve students' understanding in the teaching of reading at second grade students of SMA Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli. And then research. Objective based on the description of the background and the formulations of the above problem. The purpose of this study can be expressed as follows. The first one is to describe whether or not the use of small group discussion method is effective in learning reading at the second grade students of SMA Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli. The second one is to know whether or not the use of small group discussion method can improve students' understanding in the teaching of reading at second students grade of SMA Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli. And then research significance. Given the importance of this research in a variety of factors, the relative importance of this research is reviewed from two aspects, namely. The first one is theoretical. Significance research is expected to contribute knowledge, especially about the use of the education method in learning to read. This research is expected to be used as reference for other researchers in conduct a research in English teaching learning process. Hopefully, the result of this study is useful for students, teachers, and also all of the readers. And the second one is practical significance. There are many significance. There are significance of the research which can be useful for the first is for the students, and then for the teacher, and for the next researchers. And then research scope. The scope of this research is limited to improve students' reading comprehension by using small group discussion method. The research emphasizes on the comprehension of the reading text and focus in narrative text as the material because it has relationship with school and be formed both of in handbook teachers at the second grade of SMA Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli. And then operational definition of terms. In order to make clear of some key terms, it is important to interpret and define the meaning of some key terms dealing with his research. For the first one is small group discussion method. Consisting of small group discussion method is a method by which each group consists of 3 to 5 people. And then according to Hasibuan, small group discussion method is a way to delivering learning material and teacher allows students to brainstorm, make a conclusion, or making a variety of alternative solution to problem. In other words, a group discussion is one of the learning strategies that enable the achievement of a comprehensive teaching process. And the second one is reading. Reading is skill that when reading can give a new information, and then reading is one of the activities in order to obtain information from the printed text. According Birness and Harmer said that reading is a process conducted by the reader to get a message or information out there via researchers. And then principal teaching reading. Reading is a very active skill to read successfully. The students have to understand the argument of what words mean. As an active skills, reading should be taught with creative ways to make the students understand the whole text and able to respond to the text by giving an argument based on the text after they read the text. Literature review. Reviews of related findings. There are some research which have been conducted relating to teaching reading. According Endang Stianingsi, about the use of small group discussion to improve students' reading comprehension, the research findings show that the use of CGD could improve students' reading comprehension, class situations, and strength, and them weakness when CGD is used in teaching reading. Some patient ideas. The definition of reading. For the first is concept of reading. Reading is an interactive and constructive process involving the reader, the text, and the context of reading experience. Level, and then level of reading, and then literal reading, and then interpretive reading, critical reading, and the last is creative reading. And then research method. For the first is a research design. The method which used to be applied in this research is quasi experimental. According to Sugiono, a quasi-experiment is simply defined as not a true experiment, since the main component of a true experiment is randomly assigned groups. This means a quasi-experiment does not have randomly assigned groups. And then research variable. There are two variables in this research. They are independent variable and independent variable. And then population and sample, consisting of population, sample, and then research instrument. The instrument of this research was reading test. Test was taken in the material narrative text. The test is consist of 20 items of multiple choice and 5 items of essay. The test consisting of pre-test and post-test. The pre-test is intended to see the prior knowledge of students in reading before giving treatment, while the post of administered to know the student achievement after giving statement. And then data collecting procedure, consisting of pre-test, treatment, post-test. And the last is data analysis technique. The data will be collected through the test by using inferential statistics percentage. Score is also used to know the student's ability in reading comprehension. Well, that's all our explanation. That's all my explanation, and thank you.
Well, thank you very much to this first presenter. The next is second presenter is Christina Laia by the title An Error Analysis on Students' Writing of Simple Present Tense in Descriptive Text at A grade of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli in academic year 2020 and 2021. For the second presenter, time's yours.
Thank you for the time that given to me of moderator. So, my research title is An Error Analysis on Students' Writing of Simple Present Tense in Descriptive Text at 8th grade of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli in 2020 and 2021. The first is the background of the problem. Language is important in human life. People use language for communication to one another, and also it used to deliver message or ideas from the speaker to the listener in interaction among themselves or with the environment. Without language, it is impossible for people or everyone to join interaction each other in daily life or in learning something, and also the human activities could not run without language. Grammar is important because it makes meaning for language. To use a language properly, it is important to know grammar of language and their meanings. Grammar names the types of words and word groups that makes up sentence in any language. Simple present tense is part of grammar that states intenses. It used to express daily activity. Writer must use simple present tense when they will write about their activity. For example, he walks for school every day. They must use verb 1 when explain it. It will make their writing clearly. Murphy state that the present simple to talk about things in general. It is used to say that something happens all the time or repeatedly, or that something is true in general. It means that it is used to talk about our routine activities. The behavior that is repeated regularly and tends to occur subconsciously, all of the activities that always happen in our time must be written in simple present tense. Continue the factor of the problems. Based on the background of problem above, the focus of the study mainly intends as follows. The first is to find out how they write the descriptive text using the present tense, and the second is to find out the dominant errors made by the 8th grade students of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli in using simple present tense in descriptive text. Continue the purpose of the research. The purpose of the research is to analyze an error on students' writing of simple present tense in descriptive text at 8th grade of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli. We continue in the significance of the research. The research finding was expected to be useful for both theoretical and practical perspective. The first is theoretical perspective. The finding of the study could be useful for teaching present tense in descriptive text, and then the finding of the study could be useful as reference to those who are interested in doing the related study, and the second is practical perspective. The first is to the teacher. The finding of the study aspect become a reference and input for them, also for showing the more exercise and correction about simple present tense need to improve students' ability in writing, and the research could rearrange the way to share material effectively based on the curriculum and student difficulties. And to the students, it is important for the students to realize their mistake after they have been given an explanation and then test with simple test of writing a descriptive text by using simple present tense. We continue the definition of key terms. The first is error. Error is a fault made by students and they do not know the correct item. Furthermore, error called as the failure in using the incorrect rules in grammar caused by lack of the student's competence. In the study, the error which made by the second grade students of junior high school in using simple present tense in writing descriptive text will be analyzed. Second is simple present tense. Simple present tense is formed by using the simple form of verb written by adding s or es for the third person singular subject. Moreover, this tense is also used to express, explain, suggestion, opinion, and comment. Continue is writing. According to Osima and Hoge, 2007, writing is progressive activity and also needs several efforts or action to success in it. Writing is a process of transferring knowledge or giving the understanding of using the correct sentence and showing the way of students in using the correct vocabulary, tenses, and word choices. And the last is descriptive text. Descriptive text is a text that describes something to make the readers or listeners can feel as what the writer experienced with his or her sixth sense, looks, smells, feels, acts, tastes, and sounds. We continue in research method. This research will be used descriptive qualitative research because the writer purpose to describe the error made by 8th grade students of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli in writing descriptive text. Qualitative is the technique of analyzing data. According to Strauss and Cobbin, qualitative research is purpose as kinds of research that the result is not got through statistic procedure or another form of arithmetic. In this case, the study aims to reveal what error appeared most in the learner's descriptive writing, and it was conducted in natural condition of learning process in the classroom. The first is research approach and type. The approaches by the research is to conduct the research work inductive approach with the aim of finding the meaning that are recognize the fact with an approach to make observation, recording all facts holistically, scientific with the observed problem. Furthermore, there were two types of instruments used in the research. First, students' descriptive text writing documentation, and from this the research knew the errors made by students in writing descriptive text. And the second is the research conducted the interview to English teacher as well as the students in getting the deeper information about the sources of errors made by students. The second is the setting of the research. The place of the research was SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli, located in Jalan Karet nomor 34 Gunung Sitoli. The research chose this location because the school was easy to reach and the MCC that has been decided by the school could not be achieved by most students, especially in writing skill. Research data, we continue in research data and information. The data of the research indicates the type of data that should be collected and analyzed by the research. Then, the research review all of the data, make sense of it, and organize it into categories or themes that cut across all of the data source. In other words, the data and information are selected purposefully that we help the research to understand the problem and the research focus that have formulated. The data source were the descriptive text written by the students, also the transcript of interview of English teacher and students. The research chose class 7A and as the informant as the research because it was suggested by the English teacher because most of the students had the low score in writing descriptive text. Continue procedure of collecting data. In collecting data, the research use descriptive text writing documentation and interview. The research identified the informant by the research, namely class 7A, SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli, decided the number or participant that consists of 30 students. The type of data which will be collected were descriptive text and transcript of interview, as well as the research collected the data through the students' descriptive text, writing documentation, and interview. Continue technique of analyzing data. The technique of data analysis which used by the research in the research was qualitative analysis technique, which is function to describe and interpret the result of qualitative data. For getting the quantitative data, it will be described in the table of present tense and formula by Sujono in Mulyono to have in frequency and present tense as follow: present tense, frequency, and number of case. Continue checking the validity of data and the research finding. Checking valid data or to ensure trustworthiness in research GUBA propose several criteria. The first is credibility, transferability, dependability, confirmability, and that's all about the collecting data. And we continue in procedure of the research. In conducting the research, the researcher conducts some procedure to obtain the result as follows. The first is the research asks permission to the principal of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli to do the research. Next, the research decide the informant and number of informant of the research. Next, the research made a schedule with the English teacher of SMP Negeri 1 Gunung Sitoli to collect documentation. And then the research come to school and made cooperation with English teacher in collecting documentation. Next, after collecting the data or documentary, the research analyzed that. And then the research formulate the question, use interview in obtaining the course based on the student's error and validated by validators. Then the research conduct the interview to English teacher and to the students to get the information about the cases. And the research analyzes the data and classified by the cases based on the answer from the interview and validated by validators. And the last is the research took the conclusion and made interpretation of the research. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for both of presenters today. And that's all our research proposal seminar forum today. Thank you very much and see you next time.